CSI of New South Wales, we have endeavoured to deliver our lunchtime lectures online while our presentation venue, the Anzac Memorial Sydney, has been closed and other COVID-19 restrictions have applied. Professor Monroe, Australia's Chief Defence Scientist, provided us with this excellent presentation. Professor Monroe obtained her PhD in physics in 1998 from the University of Sydney, for which she was awarded the Bragg Gold Medal for the best physics PhD in Australia. Her research is in the field of photonics with a focus on sensing, lasers and new classes of optical fibres. Professor Monroe is a Fellow of the Australian Academy of Science, the Australian Academy of Technology and Engineering, the Optical Society of America, and the Australian Institute of Physics. She is a member of the board of the CSIRO and the South Australian Economic Advisory Council. She is the recipient of many academic and community awards, including the 2019 South Australian winner of the National Award for Excellence in Women's Leadership. Professor Tanya Monroe commenced as Australia's Chief Defence Scientist in March 2019.
Hello, my name is Tanya Monroe. I'm Australia's Chief Defence Scientist, and it's my pleasure to talk with you today. I'd like to acknowledge our online audience and this very different way of presenting. I'm delighted to share with you our vision for defence science and technology over the next decade. As most of you are former serving members of the Australian Defence Force or have close ties with the ADF, I know that you will be aware of the long history of defence science and of the Defence Science and Technology Group, which is now in its 113th year, and of its many contributions to defence. Today, DST Group has a budget of around $600 million and a workforce of 2,100 staff across Australia, predominantly scientists, engineers and technologists. And with the exception of the Northern Territory, we have a presence in all of Australia's states and territories. Internationally, we have representatives based in embassies and consulates around the world, from Washington DC, London, Seoul, Singapore and Tokyo. As the principal scientific advisor to defence, there aren't many areas of this enormous military operation that defence science and technology doesn't touch. And it's been said that if a soldier wears it, eats it, uses it, or thinks it, DST has done the science behind it. We have a long and proud history of providing innovations and solutions to defence, solutions which are game-changing. And importantly, many of our innovations, the knowledge we create, has impact beyond defence. Take the black box fight recorder, for instance. This was developed by Dr. David Warren, a defence scientist at our lab in Melbourne in the 1950s, and it's now ubiquitous on every commercial aircraft around the world. Then there's JORN, the Jindalee Operational Radar Network, which provides 24-hour military surveillance of the northern and western approaches to Australia, but is also used for weather forecasting and detecting illegal entry, smuggling and unlicensed fishing. Recently, one of our senior scientists, Dr. Neil Gordon, was recognised with the Minister's Award for his groundbreaking work in developing the particle filter algorithm, which is arguably the most important breakthrough in surveillance algorithms in the last 50 years. The particle filter is now used almost everywhere, from predicting the weather to epidemiology to the extraction of missile threats from satellite data. As an organisation, we have made and continue to make an important contribution to the security and prosperity of Australia. Our role has always been to ensure a regionally superior ADF with the highest levels of military capability and technological sophistication. And today, in this rapidly changing world, this role is more important than ever. With our country facing increasingly challenging and contested security environment, we at DST are positioning ourselves to deliver strategic advantage across the full spectrum of defence capabilities. Our success in doing this will depend on having a focused science, technology and research program, and perhaps even more importantly, our ability to effectively leverage and shape the R&D that's being done in our national universities and industry. In May this year, we launched More Together, which is the new science and technology strategy for defence. And that provides our strategic direction over that next decade. At its heart, More Together is indeed about leveraging that national R&D capability, about articulating priority problems that we need to solve as a nation to deliver breakthrough defence technology. And at the centre of that is the concept of the Starshot. Starshot stands for Science, Technology and Research Shot, and it's in blatant homage to the moonshot. By setting an aspirational goal, we hope to inspire and align activity both across our nation, but through and with our international partners to deliver impact. They're developed with our defence senior stakeholders, and each and every one of our Starshots, which I'll introduce to you today, has a 3 or 4 star defence sponsor. They're challenging, inspirational, aspirational endeavours that our whole nation can get behind. They help us focus research on defence's strategic objectives and set the foundation for these future leap ahead capabilities. Critically, from the start, we're working to make sure that they have pathways to impact and transition into capability so that they create tangible capabilities for the ADF. Now, as you can imagine, selecting the right mix of Starshots to aim for has been critical. So to do that, we did extensive consultation, both within defence and with key stakeholders across the nation. And after this process, I'm confident that the 8 Starshots we've selected are the right ones for us to focus on and to grow scale around. And they have the support of the ADF because they will allow us to prevail in a contested environment. And importantly, they allow us to support capability development across the warfighting domains and in the important joint context in which we need to operate. So I'd like now to provide you with a brief summary of each of the 8 Starshots. Firstly, remote undersea surveillance. As many of you will be aware, the detection and localisation of submarines is a significant challenge for any nation, but it's one that's particularly critical for Australia, given our geography, where we have such a large maritime domain and relatively limited set of crewed assets. To address this challenge, we have established the Starshot focused on remote undersea surveillance, which aims to enhance our surveillance capabilities by augmenting crewed assets with the use of autonomous deployable sensor systems. So what will this mean for our Navy? It'll mean that we can create a 200 nautical mile safe haven around Australian naval bases through technology. That's the aspiration. And along the way with this and every Starshot, we'll be testing and demonstrating some of the great ideas that come from our academic and industry partners, as well as from DST scientists, to ensure that there's good engagement with the ADF men and women who'll be using our technologies and that there is a way of quickly adopting innovation as it emerges. Another of our starshots concerns operating in CBRN contaminated environments, something, unfortunately, that from time to time we're likely to have to do. Our ADF needs to be able to safely and successfully prosecute missions in environments that may be contaminated by chemical, biological, radiological or nuclear hazards. And this starshot will explore the development of critical capabilities for threat detection, situational awareness, identification, mapping and prediction to develop those tools we need for both decision making and, of course, situational awareness. The next starshot that I'd like to introduce you to is our quantum assured position navigation and timing starshot. As many of you know, position navigation and timing systems are vital for military operations so that we know where we are and we can coordinate our people and our assets. And today's PNT systems are reliant on global navigation satellite systems, particularly the US GPS system. However, access to such position systems can be too easily constrained, either by adversarial jamming or poor environmental conditions, or even just the nature of the terrain, which then undermines the reliability and ubiquity of PNT. As the name suggests, the quantum assured PMT starshot aims to use some emerging developments in quantum technologies where Australia has a real strength, particularly in our university and industry systems, and take some of these wonderful new innovations and bring them together into an integrated system and test them in a real military environment so that Australia can assure access to information about position navigation and timing to support battle space networks and ensure mission success. We have a starshot focusing on resilient multi-mission space capabilities. Space, the new warfighting domain. Our existing space capability is vulnerable to what is increasingly a contested domain. The resilient multi-mission space starshot will provide resilient global communications, PNT data and geointelligence directly from satellite to the ADF user on the ground in real time. This critical capability will be enabled by smart satellite constellations that are resilient and reconfigurable, that create an intelligence cloud that support mission requirements. And it's very important to note here that we'll be heavily leveraging Australian technologies, but that our approach will be coalition ready to work with our allies. And this leverages huge emerging potential and capability in our industry and in our university sector, as well as strength within defence. Another of our starshots is focused on disruptive weapon effects. The rapid development of advanced missiles and high-speed systems is challenging our current missile defence capabilities due to a range of factors, but most critically speed, manoeuvrability and range. For the ADF to carry out its missions in contested environments, we need effective countermeasures against these types of threats and advanced missile systems. The Disruptive Weapon Effects Starshots is aimed at doing just that. It aims to develop, mature and demonstrate technologies that can specifically counter adversary anti-access area denial capabilities and enable joint freedom of manoeuvre. It will explore how to increase the range and speed of weapons, how to use teaming and coordination effects to overwhelm enemy combat systems, and how to best employ defensive capabilities such as directed energy weapons for surviving within that contested environment. As with all of the starshots, this one draws on the very best of Australia's innovation sector, universities, small to medium enterprises and industry primes. And it will leverage Australian research strengths in hypersonics, tactical booster design, transformative energetics, weapons teaming, advanced sensors, and laser and directed energy technologies. We expect this starshot will deliver new, innovative weapons technologies, but it will see options for the growth of an Australian's weapons industry base. This is an example of a starshot that has in effect already commenced through established work on high-speed weapons and which leverages very strong international Five Eyes relationships. I now turn to our information warfare starshot. As each and every one of you will be aware, the information environment is the new theatre of war, and itself is contested. Our military systems, like our civilian systems, rely on that information environment, and our infrastructure is reliant on it, our economies rely on it. Control the information environment, and you control the contest. The information warfare starshot focuses on developing autonomous information warriors to fight the information war through blended awareness and effects across human, cyber, information and physical realms. The next starshot I'd like to introduce you to is Agile Command and Control. Often views of command and control are anchored in the past. But the nature of war is changing, and conflicts of the future will be very different from those that the ADF has faced in the past decade or two. Operating domains that have recently been considered global commons are now contested, and freedom of operations cannot currently be assured. Our ADF needs to be technically and tactically prepared for high-end conflicts against technologically advanced adversaries. Military success requires us to have the ability to simultaneously generate effects with and across every operational domain, a concept coined as joint all-domain operations. This is the new reality of modern warfare. Joint all-domain control and command is fundamental to success across the continuum of conflict. It turns individual capabilities into a synchronized, coherent force. The Agile Command and Control starshot leverages technologies such as machine learning, autonomy, and human-machine interactions, and combines those technologies with emerging command and control and situational understanding concepts. The end result will be a continuously evolving end-to-end joint command and control capability that will be reconfigurable and deployable. And this new capability will enable commanders to make rapid decisions based on actionable information and enhance situational awareness of complex and changing battle spaces. This brings me to the last of our 8 starshots, one focused on ensuring that we have access to battle-ready platforms. Now, while this might not appear quite as sexy as our quantum-assured PNT starshot or our space starshot, it's no less important, because maintenance of ADF platforms is a huge practical and cost implication for defence. And traditional maintenance approaches have been based on predetermined life cycles, which often don't take into account use or loadings or the environments platforms have been working within. And this can lead to reduced availability of platforms due to premature breakages or, on the other hand, unnecessary cost or removal from service of those platforms. Now, with the advent of new technologies around Industry 4.0, such as the emergence of digital twins and data analytics and machine learning, it's now possible to revolutionise the maintenance of our systems and significantly improve both fleet availability and also fleet performance. This starshot will develop technologies that lower maintenance costs and improve availability of platforms for operational service. I hope this rapid overview gives you a broad understanding of each of the starshots and the problems we seek to solve for the ADF by making them our key areas of focus. But this will not produce the change we seek unless we put significant thought, effort, and planning into the workforce we need to deliver it. Specifically, we need a STEM workforce, science, technology, engineering, maths enabled workforce. And this is a topic very close to my heart. You don't need me to tell you that STEM skills are critical to the future of work generally. And in fact, the chief scientist recently published data that showed that 70% of jobs of the future will rely on advanced STEM skills. And if you have a child of an age that you can influence, like I do, I have 3 teenage sons, I hope you'll be doing what you can to encourage them to stick with their STEM subjects in terms of keeping their options open for future opportunities and careers. Now, for us to be able to deliver on Australia's potential, one of the biggest risks we have is a lack of people with suitable STEM skills. And some of the things that worry me is data that you see on the proportion of our young people that study, for example, advanced mathematics at year 11 and 12. Something like 12% of boys and 8% of girls, numbers that we must turn around. Defence in particular recognises that to meet the defence and national security challenges of the future, we must put focus in a coordinated and joined up way on addressing STEM workforce issues. So one key thing in delivering on that requirement is the STEM Council. I have the great privilege of chairing Defence's STEM Council, which started in 2018 and brings together people from across all of the groups and services within Defence and key other people from across government to get a shared common vision and view for what we can tangibly do to try and shift the STEM skills issues that we see. In 2019, we launched our strategic vision for STEM workforce, which was called Moving Towards a High-Tech Future for Defence. And through this vision, we do hope to address some of the key challenges confronting our nation. They include things like the performance of Australia's school system, particularly in science and maths. But it's also cultural. It's also about addressing the motivation and ambition of our kids and young people and helping them see that through studying these subjects, it's not that they're sacrificing or doing something hard, but really they have the opportunity to make a difference and to solve problems they care about. This is not just about developing more high-end research scientists. It's across the whole spectrum of activity. People who understand how to weigh data and make decisions based on evidence will make Australia have a better future. But we also need to make sure that in doing this, we get better and better at harnessing the diversity of Australia's community. Currently, women represent only 16% of Australia's STEM workforce. We need to do better. Now, it's interesting to note and wonderful to note that more Indigenous students are now enrolling in STEM courses, something like an 8% annual increase. However, Indigenous Australians are still underrepresented in STEM and we need to do more. Inclusiveness in STEM is needed, not just to increase the numbers of currently underrepresented groups like women and our Indigenous communities, but to make sure that we can actually make good use of the contributions of these current minority groups, because it's clear from data that a diversity of view in an inclusive environment produces better outcomes. And nowhere is that more true in science. As a major employer of STEM skills, Defence is taking a leadership role in trying to shape the STEM agenda for Australia. And I'm very proud that Defence Science and Technology Group was awarded the Athena Swan Bronze Award last year. This required us to have a cold, hard look at our data, our processes, our systems, and to develop a customised action plan for what we want to do differently to address the underrepresented diversity groups within our organisation. Now, I've touched on two key elements of More Together, our science and technology strategy for defence, our workforce and our star shots. A final piece of this puzzle is, of course, infrastructure, because without outstanding scientific infrastructure and work environments, we can't power that innovation we need to deliver. And a key part of this is making sure that we create the environments where we can drive the partnerships and collaborations we need with industry and with our university partners and the other publicly funded research agencies to deliver outcomes. So to accommodate this new way of working, we'll be looking to establish defence precincts at locations around Australia where we do co-locate with our partners who are keen to work with us on solving some of these big problems identified by Defence. I'm thrilled with the response we've had, not just from Defence, but more broadly to the More Together strategy. It articulates a clear vision for how we, as Australia, can deliver greater impact from our intellectual base and have that make a difference in real capability for the ADF. Having identified that direction, now the rubber hits the road in terms of ensuring that we have the right mechanisms, culture, and arrangements to make sure that work pulls through into impact. I'm confident that this is the right strategy at the right time. It allows us to focus what is a limited resource on the problems that really matter and on pulling them through into impact. And as we do that, we'll be developing that STEM pool and delivering to defence capability. History has shown that defence-driven innovations can and usually do have much broader implications and applications that help benefit society in general. And I hope that we can, in the future, gather together and share emerging stories of those contributions, much like that black box flight recorder invented by David Warren all that time ago. Thank you for your time today. It's been a real pleasure to share our thinking for how we can do more together across Australia to deliver outcomes for defence through science and technology. Bye for now.